Hey, Gary.
Hey, Andre, how you doing?
Doing great. Yourself?
Doing pretty good. Yep. And out of the ordinary Monday, but a good Monday nonetheless.
Yeah.
So sometimes it's good to have an odd or unusual different kind of day, you know.
Yeah.
Let's see. I think I got almost everybody on here. All right. So we're live and been recording, and we're also on Facebook Live, and give everybody a few more minutes to get in here. So let's see. Anil, hey Anil, good to see you. Okay, let's see, Sarah.
Hey, sir. How are you?
All right, good to see you.
Yes, sir.
Hey, Rob Lane, I got a quick question for you.
Yes, sir.
We're gonna on Wednesday night on the monthly team call, we're gonna talk about having the pro account or team account at Zillow in addition to all of our individual personal accounts. Have you gone through, or has anybody gone through the process of doing that at, like, I think you get an invite, or sorry, Beverly sent, let's see how this works. Beverly sent an email out announcing it, and then we used Cindy Lucart as sort of a guinea pig. But she was already tied to an older team account, probably like me from years before, and it caused a wrinkle. She just hasn't gotten back to it. But I just want to see if anybody else got an invite. We put a hold on it till we make sure it was working well. I mean,
I did not get one. I got the notice that they were going to go out. So I went on Zillow, and I had like 3 different accounts with 3 different emails, which is why I have no idea, but nonetheless, I had accounts. So I kind of tried to merge them all into one. But it was a Premier account. You know, when we were KW, everybody had a Premier. We were all Premier agents. So that was kind of stuck. So, but I have received no actual invite.
Okay. Yeah, that means we haven't, Tio hasn't done that then. Okay, so that's okay. I just wanted to get an idea. I know I saw your name out there.
Okay.
So once we get that, Cindy has that done, we could probably, you know what I might do, guys? I might send out, or have Tio send out just a handful of invites, because we want to get that project up and running. What it does is, you already have your own personal account. That doesn't change. So the benefit is that the team gets obviously more exposure when we also have the team account, and you're all connected to it. But the real benefit is exposure to more consumers, because consumers obviously use Zillow more than anything else. But also, technically speaking, when the search engines are doing their business, as long as you're consistent, if your name, your picture, and if you have your own tagline, your own brand, like Rob Lane Homes, for example, and that's on your Facebook page, on LinkedIn, on your website, any other location, including Zillow, Realtor.com, and Homes.com, you get more juice. You know what I mean? The search engines think, okay, this guy's, he's all over the place, we're going to bump him up. Does that make sense, guys? So there's a lot of, and it doesn't cost a thing. You don't have to have a Premier account to do it. It doesn't cost a thing. If you already have a Premier account, obviously you get a little more juice that way too. But so hold on to your seat for that. We'll Beverly, we're meeting tomorrow, and we will bring this up as a topic of discussion.
Hey, Gary, can you promote me and I'll start promoting and watching that for you?
Yep.
Thanks,
it's,
darling.
You're welcome.
You're now Colonel Gina. You've been promoted.
Hey,
There you go.
it was always General Gina, by the way.
Yeah, there you
Know
are.
what to do.
It's a general something, maybe.
Okay, you are officially promoted. So,
Thanks, sweetie.
yep. In any case, first off, welcome to the guests. We have several guests on tonight. Different walks of life, some EXP, some KW, some different workers. So welcome and welcome back home. Lisa, are you officially back home? Oh, about to board a flight. We'll listen to replay. All right, Lisa, safe travels and aloha. We'll see you when you get back. I just couldn't remember if you were going to be back today or today was a travel day. Let's see. Michael saying there's a number of useful videos on vision planning. Yeah, I've had over the years, guys, the main subject for tonight is the first of 4 exercises: vision, goals, action plans. So over the year, of course, we've added people to the team. So some of you are new or relatively new. And we do this every year, but historically we would start in January. And what I realize is if we start in December, wrapping up this year with the first 2 parts, vision and goals, then you have time over the holidays to spend more time on it and perfect it, because the key is the vision exercise. That's the key. You do that well, everything else follows in line. Okay. So now for those of you who are new, let me do a share screen here and I'll show you exactly where it is. Okay, that's Facebook. We want to go to not Facebook. So we're going to go over here. Let me get rid of some of this stuff. Okay. All right. When you log into the team platform, okay, let me just go back from the beginning. You first log in, you go into the members area, right? And you're going to be in your dashboard. Okay. So I just clicked on my dashboard. So this is what your dashboard will look like. The only difference would be I have all the training programs open to me. And in most cases, you'll have the first one, the investor agent, open to you, and the others won't be available. But of course, you're on a team, so they can be available anytime you want. I don't recommend taking them all at once, but take them one at a time, your pace based on what you want to learn first, second, and third. So remember, this is all in addition to what we get at EXP. This is all team platform stuff. So you got your training platform, you'll see that. And over here, you'll see member resources. These are our production resources like marketing campaigns, tools, websites, things like that. And then here's our internal GIA stuff like coaching, scripts, and so forth. And down here is the GIA 90-day Fast Start program that Gina Hansen and David Evers developed. Now going on, has that been 2 years, Gina? Holy smokes, has it been that long?
Yeah, crazy, huh?
Wow. And you guys look younger too. I don't know how that is. I'm out here, it gets whiter and whiter every day, and you guys look younger. So,
Filters.
yeah, there you go. There you go. Okay, so when you're into your dashboard, just scroll down, click on the 90-day Fast Start program. All right, you'll see there's 3 30-day chunks. You scroll down. This is the agenda for the first 30 days because I've got that one highlighted. And then you'll see anything in red is clickable. So you'll see here, step number 1, the first 4 steps. We call it vision coaching. It's vision, goals, actions, plans. Now, like Mike mentioned, there was a lot of ways to do this. I was blessed enough to learn from a guy named Stephen Covey. And if you can imagine this was 1989. I was just getting into the workforce, green as they get. And as you might imagine, with I don't even think I was 25 years old yet. Maybe I was. But as you might imagine, I didn't really pay attention much. I thought, okay, this is, kind of out there and I just want to make money. I remember that was my mindset. I just want to blow past all this stuff so I can make some money. Well, guess what? Turns out years later, I discovered why this is so important. First things first, we always do the vision exercise first. Now, when I learned from Stephen Covey, we started with values. All right. So values are extremely important. I'm not saying just because you don't see it here, values are not important. but your values and what you value will come out very clearly in a well-written vision exercise, okay? Then once you have that, as you might imagine, your goals fall into place much more easily. So let's face it, let's do a quick little quiz here. Who here has ever been in a program, where you're setting goals, making your plans and so forth, and you start off with the goals. What are your goals? Has anybody been through one of those before? What are your goals? Do a hand raise or in your chat box and say, yep, been through those before. Nothing wrong with that, except one thing. You're coming up with your goals from what we call your small mind, right? Like left to ourselves, we're probably not capable of everything we really are capable of, if we really tap into our higher self. Some people call it your spirit, your inner self, whatever you want to call it. Scientifically speaking, you have a conscious mind and a subconscious mind. So I'm going to try to be careful to walk the tightrope between theory and actual scientific practice. So what I'm teaching you here, this is not theory. It's absolute rock solid science. It starts off with your higher self, your inner self, what I call your spirit self. We all have a spirit. And if you ever want to find out who you are, who your spirit is, or you're not sure, you're thinking, well, I kind of knew who I am, Gary, I'm self-aware and all that. I'll ask you a question. Right now, while I'm speaking, you're listening to what I'm saying, you're basically compiling the information, and believe it or not, your conscious mind's deciding whether this makes it through the subconscious mind or not. It's doing a lot of filtering, and you're basically controlling your mind enough to even formulate a response. I mean, would you guys agree? Fundamentally, that's all going on right now in our minds. You're controlling your mind enough to be able to formulate a response and compile and retain some information. Does that sound reasonable, like a reasonable statement? Okay. Well, here's the big question. Who is the you that's doing all that controlling? Who's the you that's controlling your mind to be able to do these things? Okay. Well, I personally call that my spirit. And many of you do probably do. Some of you might think, well, gee, I've never heard that question before. Nobody's ever asked me that. You never thought about it. But you'll know it's very important to understand and grasp this concept, because when you're cruising down a highway, you've got a, whatever, 6 to 8 hour drive, you oftentimes go into what's called a road coma, all right? And you're really what's called alpha wave state, okay? If you guys want to read all about this, there's plenty of good books out there. The one I recommend probably above all else, what I'm actually reading now, is called the Silva Mind Control Method. Has anybody ever heard of that? SILVA? Yep, guys. He's not going around, but his programs have probably been involved in training maybe 500,000 people easily, and that's probably old numbers, So, in any case, what we're in now is what's called beta state. All right, beta is the highest level of brainwave activity, and this all is measured. If you ever want to read about it, this is where you'll see the movies. Somebody's in a chair and they have these round diodes on their head, right, and their brainwave activity is being measured with an EEG, right? Scientific machinery they have in hospitals. You've probably seen it before. So what they're measuring when we're actively engaged with each other and learning and all that kind of stuff is beta waves. Alpha waves are slightly less. There's fewer waves. It's a lower level wave activity. And that's where you are when you're basically very relaxed and you could easily fall asleep. You could take a nap, just like when you're making a long drive, right? Sorry, that was bad humor. but alpha waves are where you want to start this process. And I'm going to go into the process here and explain a little bit further, a little more deeply. But alpha waves, most of us are in alpha wave state more often than we actually realize or recognize. A lot of times, if you're sitting there listening to me, like for example, you'll slip into alpha wave state. You're still there. You're still conscious. You're still awake. But your mind can start to wander and you can start to feel a little sleepy, a little droopy eyed. That's why, by the way, every now and then I'll ask a question or have you raise your hand. Okay. So in any case, the next state is theta. All right. Now theta is basically you're asleep, but you're still a lot of your sensors are still alert and awake, and you could be easily awoken by a dog barking next door or something like that. Okay, and you're sort of halfway dreaming / daydreaming. Anybody know what I'm talking about? Like you're not even sure if you're dreaming. You're not even sure you're asleep. You just your mind is taking on a life of its own, and you just go down this rabbit hole of thought. Okay, and the delta wave is the lowest waveform, the lowest level of activity inside your brain, and that's really deep sleep, REM sleep, and things like that. And believe it or not, this is where the monks in the Himalayas, right up on top of the mountains in their enclaves, they're able to do that and get in that state and stay there. They can get in any state they want, actually. Beta, delta, theta, what have you. And there's about 200 people on the planet that can actually do that and still can be completely aware. Okay, on average, about 200 people. Most of us, we can maybe touch on it briefly, but we can't stay there. All of us can get in alpha, beta, and theta, right? And function. Delta, nearly impossible unless you're highly trained and been doing it for years and years and years. So, in any case, wonderful experience though when you actually do get to do it. So what I'm getting at here is, in order to do that, in order to get in that state, it's going to take some doing on your part. And if you click on the vision exercise, I'll just click on it here. It gives you an idea or two on how to actually do this. Okay. Now there's lots of methods. I just gave you the one that I use. All right. Some people like to listen to a recurring reel, a music reel, where it's really not music, it's the sound of nature, or like a babbling brook, or a thunderstorm, or waves crashing on the beach. It's repeating over and over again. And sometimes you can find those with subliminal messages in there, like saying things like, you're relaxing, your breathing is slowing, your pulse is slowing, you can hear yourself breathing, yet you're aware of everything around. That kind of stuff. You'll hear those are subliminal messages that people that produce those reels give you to help you get into alpha / theta waves. Okay. I like to use prayer, active prayer followed by silent prayer, which many of you know is meditation. Okay. So there's a real easy way to meditate. If you haven't ever been able to do it, or you don't think you've been able to do it, or you haven't even tried, real simple. And it's actually in Jose Silva's book, is to close your eyes, right? You're awake and sitting up, by the way, sitting in a chair, okay, with your feet firmly planted, sitting in a chair, and closing your eyes, but you're going to imagine you're lifting your eyeballs to look up about 20 degrees, not 45, not 90, but 20 degrees, like you're looking at the sun coming up over a horizon or a plane in the air in a distance, 20 degrees. Just imagine 20 degrees is about like that, okay, with your eyes closed. You're looking up like that, and you start counting backwards. If you've never done it before, you're going to want to start with 100 and count back one number about every 2 seconds. And most numbers are going to have 2 digits until you get down to 9. So 2 seconds is going to be about right anyways, and count backwards. Now, first time you do it, it's going to be chaotic. Your mind's going to wander. You're going to start daydreaming, and you're going to, what number was I on? But you'll get back to it, and you'll practice. You do that 10 days, and you have it down pat. And then you can do 50 seconds. Do that for 10 days, right? Then you can do 25 seconds, right? Then or 20, or count to 25 and down, excuse me. And then 10, and then finally 5. And you've got it, 50 days later, when you can literally count backwards from 5 and be in the perfect state, which is essentially somewhere between alpha and theta. Okay, totally up to you. What I choose to do is find a really nice, peaceful environment where it's quiet and there's no distractions. Cell phone off, computer off, everything off, TV, radio, and preferably in a room by yourself or in a home by yourself. Nobody else around, no distractions at all. And I'm going to just tell you, from experience, and some of you will have to learn yourself like I did, is to take that seriously. I can't emphasize enough how important it is. In order for you to get the most out of this exercise, which is what I want for you to do, is to really take that to heart, which is the environment that you're in, critically important, okay? Now, if you happen to be somewhere where you're not in your favorite environment, you're not down by the river or sitting on the ocean or in the woods in the middle of the mountains, just sit in a comfortable chair. And when you close your eyes, when you get to the alpha theta state, just use your vision, use your imagination to picture where you want to be. Okay. You can picture yourself sitting down by the river or down by the ocean or up in the mountains. Okay. So it's not like you have to go travel anywhere. Although I will tell you personally, I like being outdoors when I do this. I like sitting by the lake and suits me just perfectly, right? Nice and quiet. All I can hear is the birds and things like that. But if you can't do that, if you live in downtown LA and it's not convenient, just stay where you are. Just make sure you find a comfortable chair and then use your to imagine where you are. And that'll really help you calm down. Now, a couple things here. If you're really interested in the science behind this, there's lots of books you can read. You can just Google it. But one way to really measure yourself without having the EEG, it's this electrocephalocardiogram, something like that, is to be observant of your breathing. Like your breathing should slow down. Also, your pulse, your heart rate should slow down. There's no measurement. It's not like you're slowing down 20% or 10%. Everybody's different. Everybody has different pulses and different breathing rates. But essentially what you're looking for is that they're slowing down. And the fact that your eyes are closed and you're able to observe your breathing, pretty much you can be assured you're definitely in alpha and probably in the state that you need to be in. Okay, so let me do a quick pause here and first ask the question, who here has done this exercise before? Been on the team more than a year? Okay, let me do a stop share. Let me just see. So raise your hands again. Okay, good. Now, who here has done it more than once, two or more times? Okay, yep. I've been doing this since, well, this would be year 20 for me. This will be year 20 for me. And by the way, when you go through a major life change, like you just moved, for example, you changed jobs, you just got married, you just had a child, whatever. Any life event like that, that's kind of a big thing, I would highly recommend doing this again, even if it's the middle of the year and it's not the end of the year. There's many years I've done this more than once, okay? And the reason is your roadmap changes, your paradigm changes. You just sometimes learn a valuable lesson, and thankfully that process continues until the day you die. So in any case, so the people who've done it more than once, would you agree, and this is my opinion, generally you get more out of it on subsequent attempts. Does that make sense? Yep. First time around, it's like, I'm not sure, I don't know, but you do it anyways. Second time, you get better at it. Third time, once you've done it more than a half dozen times, I promise you, your projectile of growth and development and whatever it is you're looking to accomplish, you're looking to manifest, will actually increase dramatically. So just have faith. You might be better at it than I am. I mean, for me, it took several years before I hit that groove, so to speak, and got in the zone. But any case, if you can get to that point in 2 or 3 years, more power to you, because you will project a lot further, a lot faster moving forward. So if you look at the kind of stuff that I'm doing now, I did not see it as being possible for me 20 years ago. Wasn't part of my vision. Okay, so let me just stop and then see if you guys have any questions. I'm getting ready to jump into the second part of this. So any questions, thoughts, or comments? Or if you have another way of getting in that state, please share, because it's not that hard. Anybody can do it,
Gary, I just wanted to say that I did this last year. I went on your website. I did it last year, and it's carried me through. I mean, I don't sit down and do it, but for a length of time, but but it comes back to me. And just as, first of all, I have one investor is buying, many houses from me, and he wants to buy another 10 at least next year. And we were just talking about that. And then, but they're all, I don't want to complain about it,
Yeah.
but they're all, they're all like $250,000, $300,000, and, kind of like places I wouldn't live myself. And so then I said to myself, I really need some beauty, I need something, because I'm a very artistic person. And I said, I started thinking like that. And then I got this house for 1.95 that's, on the Hudson River. It's gorgeous. I mean, very soon after I started that thought. And it wasn't like, it's kind of like being connected. I see it as I've meditated for many years, and I see it as the meditation is putting me in a different space in myself, connecting me with my spirit, like you said. And from there, I don't make, I don't make something happen. It happens. It's kind
Yes,
of,
it does. Well, wait, I'll tell you what, Deborah, I appreciate you sharing. And by the way, you have had one heck of a year. I mean, oh my gosh. I mean, I've coached and trained a lot of people, in classrooms and personally, probably 25,000 over the years. And I would say you're definitely in the top, fraction of 1% that really did it. And then the year just unfolded. It's amazing, guys. What she's talking about is this. When I would practice, even beyond doing the exercise, guys, the vision exercise, I would do that practice every day if I was you. In fact, I do it every single day. I get up usually somewhere between 4 and 5:30, and it's the first thing I do. And I believe me, I still have problems and challenges, and Lord knows stuff happens, with your family and business and everything. But it doesn't derail me like it used to when I was younger, because I realize everything's going to be okay. And that's one of the outcomes of this is when you get in that state, it's a very calm, peaceful state. And if you do allow yourself to connect and engage, lots of things happen, things people consider miracles. And I'm not trying to preach it. Believe me, I'm really not. This is not a religious thing but it is a spiritual thing, and whether you're religious or not, doesn't matter. Anybody could and should do this. But one of the other really amazing benefits of this is when you're in that state, okay, it allows your imagination to thrive, right? Your creativity can thrive. So what I'm getting at is that's the state you need to be in when you're writing your vision statement, okay? Because your vision statement should not be limited by what you think you're capable of doing based on your life's experiences. That's not how it works. You're writing it based on possibilities, right? Possibilities. What is it possible for you to achieve your dream and your vision? It absolutely is. I can't guarantee you're going to do it today, tomorrow, even next year. But I can tell you this, if you're clear about it and you use your powers of visualization enough, and it's something you can practice and get better at, by the way, just like dribbling a basketball or cooking, you can actually get better at this, all right, with practice. So I do it every single morning without fail, all right? And the best ideas come to you in that state. And some of you probably notice, I'm sure some of you actually raise your hand if you can recall times where, maybe you had a problem, something stressing you couldn't quite figure it out because you're trying to use your conscious mind to do it. And you all of a sudden you wake up one morning, and as you wake up, all of a sudden the answer is there, right out of the blue. Yep. So in any case, I wish I could explain more how that works, but I'm a mortal human being, so I don't understand those things. All I know is I benefited from them, and I've seen it in others. I've seen enough times that I don't have to be convinced anymore because I've experienced it. And I hope you will too, if you haven't already, So in any case, if you really want to increase your field of vision and enlarge your vision for yourself and your life, this is the way to do it. Okay. And all kinds of things come out when you write your vision statement. I've seen people say things like, I really want to learn to play the piano, and we'll talk about it. And her name was Rebecca, by the way. This came up probably 2 years ago. She said, Gary, I haven't thought about that since I was 7 years old. I just assumed as an adult, it was too late. Has anybody ever said that to themselves before? What the heck? I'm 40, I'm 50, I'm 60. Why do I want to start that now? It's too late. Don't do that. You know, you got plenty of gas in the tank. And the fact that you're here tells me you do. You know, I have a great aunt that lived to be 101. She worked in her family business till she was 94. 94. Just amazing, you know. She was an amazing person, by the way, Aunt Bessie. But in any case, the point I'm trying to get here is I'm trying to paint a picture for you to understand why preparation is so vital with this exercise and why it's so much more powerful. The exercise is so much more powerful when you do it that way. Because believe me, I've seen thousands of vision exercises written down over the years. Everything from a few bullet items on a piece of paper to 8-page, you know, scripts, stories, if you want to call them that. By the way, the average is 2 to 4 pages, 2 to 4 pages. Okay. So a couple of things here. What Deborah experienced is when you're intentional about something, you visualize it, you write it down. And by the way, I suggest you recite it at least once a week, your vision exercise. Now, mine, this is my last one. Okay. Back and front, it's probably 1, 2, 3. This one's 4 pages, right? Back and front, 4 pages. Every day, I look at it every single day without fail. Okay. It doesn't take that long, and you can multitask. Here I am, Mr. Multitasker. I actually do that when I'm sitting there eating breakfast, right? So instead of thumbing through my phone, you know, that's something I'll do when I turn on the clock for my workday. I'll look at the vision exercise. I used to do it once a week, and I noticed when I increased the frequency to once a day, I don't have doubts, and I have fears just like everybody else, but I do not doubt the outcome of anything that I put my mind to, as long as it's for good. And this is a critical concept here. And Jose Silva talks about it in the book too. He first taught his children how to do this, and he started teaching adults. And again, I don't know how or why, but it actually only works when it's for good. You know, if you have ill intent, like if you have or feeling vengeful about something, and you're doing the Cupid doll with the needles and stuff like that, you know, the magic won't work. You know, all you're doing is you're causing yourself pain because the other person has no idea what you're doing or thinking, right? So all that, whatever anger, resentment is caught inside of you, and it's holding you back. So a whole different story, different day. If anybody's interested in that, you know, how to actually experience forgiveness, let me know, and I'll be glad to do a one-on-one with you. Critical lesson in life. But back to this, what I'm saying is, for some reason, guys, this process only works when it's used for good. And some of the people I've learned from at the highest levels, actually, one of them made me wait 2 years to learn the next step because she didn't think I was ready. You know, just going through a major life event, and I wasn't seeing things clearly. You know, there's a lot of people. She's perfect human nature. Nothing was wrong with it. It's just I wasn't ready at the time. And when I was ready, let me tell you, another major leap forward. You know. So, in any case, now back to the vision exercise itself. I want you to write this down so you remember it. It is in the instructions, but this is really important also. Everything here is extremely important. But when you're writing, you want to write as if you're writing a story, you're writing a book, or simply writing a letter. You know, write so you have a stream of consciousness. So instead of writing bullet items like the high CDs and DCs will do, you know, you're going to be tempted just to write one-liners, bullet items. You know, imagine this. I call it the rocking chair test. It's called future projection. So you're in the state, you project yourself forward, you know, 50, 60, 70, 80 years, whenever you think your last day is going to be. Okay. And you ask this question, you know, I'm looking back on my life. You know, what is it that you want to see? Now, remember, the word is want. It's not what you think you're going to see. It's what you want to see, right? And for those of you who believe in God, I'm telling you, God wants you to have it. You know, He wouldn't put it in your heart if you didn't want it to, if you didn't want that. You know, famous quote from Denzel Washington to that effect you can see on YouTube. He's speaking to a film class in Hollywood, in LA. And he put that up to you. Some people worry they get fear. It's like doubt. Man, am I really thinking too big? Is this too much to ask for? No, you can never ask for too much, you know? So it's an abundant world that we live in, an abundant universe. So in any case, so because of that, when you're writing, when you have this vision, there's no limits. It can be as big as you want. Don't worry about whether or not you accomplish it. That'll come later. The key now is to just write, get in that flow, get in that writer's flow. And you're looking back, and one of the perspectives is, you know, how do I want to be remembered? That's a biggie. How do I want to be remembered? Now, again, I know there's lots of exercises out there. The reason I like this one is there's actually science behind it, and it teaches you to get in that perfect combination of alpha, theta wave state before you start writing. Okay, so you get in that state, and you tell yourself, okay, I'm going to answer I'm going to ask this question. I'm going to go ahead and write the answer right now. So you want to be prepared, by the way, you know, with the water, right, and a pad of paper. Okay, right, pad of paper. And I suggest have a couple of pens, and also suggest write it in pen. It's something cathartic and subconscious happens, or when you're writing in pencil, guess what'll happen when the next day you might be tempted to change some things. I'm not saying this, that's against the rules. But when you write it in pen, would you agree it feels more permanent? It feels more solid when you write it in pen. You can't erase it. Okay, so what's really cool is this, guys. Once you get started writing, it's like it takes over. The process takes over. Deborah, did you experience that too? Like you didn't have to think so much consciously. You just started writing, and everything just came through your mind, through your arm, through your hand, through the pen and onto the paper.
That's what I've done. I mean, when I do my own writing, I usually let the image come to me, and then I write down what I've seen.
Yeah.
So it's not I don't want to be in my regular mind.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I'm not, my regular mind is not as smart as my you know, whatever higher self or whatever whatever you want to call it.
I agree. Yep. Who knows who famously said that? Your imagination is far more important than intelligence. First name and first letter.
Einstein.
Albert Einstein. Absolutely. Yep. So probably one of the most brilliant people on the planet, but it's imagination. Remember, as a kid, he was reprimanded at school all the time because he was daydreaming and doodling, and he was using his imagination, right? And the reality is he ended up being one of the most brilliant people on the planet. So use your imagination, guys. You know, no holds barred, no limitations, no restrictions, right? And there are people who live that way naturally, and there's others like me that have to actually practice it. Okay, it might be more natural for you. Deborah is probably more natural for Deborah, right? Or you might be more like my son Andrew, who has to really practice, really like religiously practice this in order to accomplish it. That's been my story, you know. So in any case, you do get better at it. So when you're writing, you know, if you'll notice that you'll start writing about multiple things, it doesn't have to all be about business. In fact, it shouldn't all be about business. You know, write about your relationships with your friends and your family members. Write about your dreams and aspirations. Write about the places you want to visit. Right. Write about the home you want to live in and where you want to live, in the mountains, at the beach, maybe both. You know, East Coast, West Coast. You know, North, South. You know, just keep writing. And remember this: if you want to write these down, this isn't the instructions, but this is what helps me. We all have what we call multiple environments in our life. We call these environments. So your friends, your circle of friends is an environment. Your family is an environment, right? Your actual home where you live, the physical home, is an environment. The area you live in, believe it or not, is an environment separate from your home. Your physical body is an environment. Your mind is an environment. Your spirit's an environment, by the way. Your job is an environment. If you have an investment portfolio, right, that's an environment. You have all these environments. So make sure you're right about, you cover all those environments. If you want to write them down like on a cheat sheet at the top of your page to make sure you cover them, absolutely do it. And here's what's really cool about this. This is going to come up later when we do the goals exercise next week. When you've covered all the environments, you're going to have a real clear picture of how your environments interact with each other. And I know some of it's going to be common sense, like as you improve your physical health, would you agree mentally you probably feel better too, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely. The two are very closely related. And as you increase your financial health, or if you want to call it your financial freedom or wealth, as you might imagine, that will probably have an effect on the home you live in, maybe how much traveling you do, things like that. You know, where you live will have an effect on your health too. If you live in, I hate to say it, but you know, an old city with a lot of old industrial facilities, you know, I mean, I'll tell you, I've lived in Pittsburgh for 25 years, and it's great now. It's a great place. But back in the 70s and a little bit into the 80s, I mean, men used to wear 2 shirts to work every day. One, they wore to work, and when they got to work, they went to the bathroom and cleaned up, took the outer shirt off because it was covered in soot. That's what it was like. Can you imagine living in an environment like that? So it affected their health, right? It's dark and gloomy. I mean, it affected everything. So in any case, all those environments interact. Some environments will interact more greatly than others. Okay. So it's a matter of degree, but just remember they're all related. And as you affect one, that one may affect another one. In any case, write about all your environments, make it really thorough and really complete. And guys, give yourself the gift of time to do it. Give it 2 hours, minimum 2 hours. Okay. Okay, let's do another pause here because that was a big giant segment right there. Any questions, any suggestions or thoughts? And if you're a thought leader, I know like John Giggy's on, John's a John Maxwell coach. I know Anna, I got your message. Anna's unable to open up her picture, but Anna, you can actually you can unmute yourself, Anna, if you want, without having your video on. I think you can anyways, if you do have something to add, but if anybody has something to add or elaborate on, absolutely, please share. You know, this is definitely something we want to be help each other with, you know.
Hey, Gare.
Yep.
Now that you've been doing it for 20 years, do you still use the full 2 hours or more when you do this?
Oh yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I've done, sometimes it's 4 hours. You know, for me, that's why I know the average is 2 to 4. Everybody I've spoken to that really wrote, you can see in the writing, they really did put themselves into it. It's easily 2 to 4 hours. You know, first off, it takes time sometimes to get your mind and everything in your body, you know, ready for it, right? And also another thing people struggle with, and let's face it, the heart, probably one of the things that people struggle the most with, and it's really unnecessary, is just getting started. Like they'll ask, so by the way, you want to ask the question, what do I want to see when I look back on my life, and how do I want others to remember me? That should be your starting point. But what a lot of people do is they'll say, well, Gary, I just find myself asking, what should I write? I don't know what to write, or I don't know what to write about. Okay, real easy trick. If you think about it, when you start the exercise, it's the writing part of it. You're going to be moving out of the theta wave and into more of the alpha wave. So you're more awake and aware and so forth. It's okay. It's perfectly natural, and it's where you want to be anyways. So you're going to be aware of the bird chirping outside or the dog barking down the street. Okay. Just write that, right? Whatever your senses pick up in that moment, right? Your feet are cold, whatever it is, just start writing that. Just the act of hand-eye coordination and your hand moving with the pen and starting to write. It's just like what's a good example? It's like the ketchup, right? Sometimes you got to smack that ketchup bottle a few times. When it starts coming out, it just starts coming out, right? So, and I promise,
like opening a floodgate on a watering canal. When you're at the top of, you're screwing it open, a little bit starts flowing, and the more you open it, you know, it's like your thought process. The more you open your thought process, the more your thoughts give you what you need.
Yep. Most times what happens, guys, is just don't let that kind of stuff distract you. Worry, just say, I understand this is, I'm not sure what to start writing, but I'm going to go start writing anyways. So you basically minimize that little miniature hesitation there. You just make it something small that you control because you're in control, and you move past it. Hey, Rob, did you ever do something like this when you were serving in the Air Force? Did they ever have you do an exercise like this?
No, we never did anything like this at all.
Yeah.
No.
Isn't that amazing? Think about the military. What kind of environment is that? Who's in control?
Not us.
Yeah, the guy above you.
That's right.
Yep. And there's systems and processes and procedures for everything. You get an autopilot, So believe it or not, that ability to be an autopilot will serve you well here. Because what happens did you do this before, Rob, like last year or the year before?
Yeah, I
Vision
tried, but I struggled with it mightily.
Yep.
So
Yep.
my goal this year is I just added it to my calendar is to
Yep.
start it like, day after Christmas or 2 days after Christmas,
Hmm.
when everything is kind of over and done and we're, looking, all the stress and everything is behind us. Now we can be more open and free, let our thoughts kind of run with it.
Yep.
Gary,
Yes.
Gary, one of the things the way that I think about it is, if you're good at sales, and I would think most of the people here are good at sales, it's because you are in front of somebody and you're paying attention to them. You're not thinking about what you're going to eat for lunch. Your attention is on the interaction between you and that person.
Mhm.
And so it's kind of a similar movement that you're paying attention to yourself, but it's, you're paying attention to your breathing or something like that, so that you aren't allowed, because when you're in front of somebody and listening to them, it's important because
Mhm.
first of all, they feel heard, but you also know you also are getting a lot of insight into this person. And the same thing is happening with you when you're sitting in front of yourself. It's like you're like as if you're another person.
Yeah. Yep. Pretty amazing. There's other exercises, that we're able to do. And I've done it with other people in other groups and things like that. And people will say sometimes they felt like they met themselves for the first time going through this process. Pretty interesting comment, because most people have never taken the time to really be this introspective, but what's amazing is you'll find yourself pushing the envelope far more than you would if you were left to your own devices, without going through this process. In other words, most people would say in terms of production, let's just take our business or real estate that we're in. I'll ask them, what would you like to accomplish? What's your vision for yourself in the next year? And without going through the exercise, inevitably, most people, what do you think most answers would be? I want to blank my production. Just take a guess what that answer would always be. Yep.
Increase.
Double.
Double.
Increase,
Double,
Double.
triple, increase.
yeah, it's double, or the old one
Yeah.
was also 6 figures. I want
Yeah.
6 figures. Which 6 figures?
Yeah. You know what's interesting, guys? And I'll just ask you the question, let you think about the answer. Would you think that you challenging yourself to double your production would be a big enough challenge for you to change your entire approach to how you're going to be more productive? Or would it simply make you think, I've got to get more out of what I'm already doing?
It's not big enough.
Yeah, it's not big enough. Your mind, your subconscious mind is listening and saying, "Well, double, I'm just going from 10 to 20. That's not that big a deal. I just got to be smarter and be more efficient and things like that," which are all good things. But if you really want to
Where are my
change,
glasses?
what's that?
I'm sorry. I didn't realize my mic was open. I'm sorry.
Oh, that's okay. Hey, Bonetta, good to see you.
How you doing, Gary?
I'm doing fantastic. So, but what would actually challenge your subconscious mind to really dig deep and connect with, if you want to call it the higher consciousness, universe, whatever, it's out there and it's real. It will go and find what you need. Okay. If you make that something like 10 times production, and I know some of you think this sounds like there's no way, Gary. That's because you haven't done the exercise yet. But once you do it and you write it down, all of a sudden it becomes a lot more real. And your subconscious mind goes to work and goes and finds everything you need. All of a sudden you'll see things in something you read before you didn't see. Or you'll think about a conversation you had with somebody that last year, like, you know what? That person said they did X. Now X makes sense to you. It didn't a year ago, but now it does. And I'll give you something that is gonna, it is some, it comes from one of the religious dogmas, which is this. Who's ever heard the phrase, God will always meet your needs, give you what you need, right? There's plenty of verses about that, okay? Well, most of us live through our own devices will probably think, well, my needs are food, shelter, and clothing. My needs are small, and well, God will provide needs. But if that's your vision, remember, God's going to provide what you need according to your vision, how you're living, right? So if you're living a big vision, would you agree you probably have greater needs, right?
Hmm.
So if hopefully some light bulbs just went off in some heads here, because that was a big lesson for me, because I used to be way too conservative and even scarcity minded. Like I'm not feel guilty if I want too much. I'm going to feel guilty about that. It's not right. But remember, if it's for good, it's there for a reason. So in any case, keep that in mind. The bigger your vision, the bigger your need, right? And if you write it down and you visualize on that and you repeat these things to yourself every day and review it at least weekly, I suggest every day, it'll become more and more clear over time. And your needs will be greater, and that's okay, because it's probably going to be serving more people. Think about it. To sell 100 houses versus 10 houses, that means you're going to be helping a lot of people, right? And when you're helping other people, that's a good thing, right? Remember Zig Ziglar? Boy, was he right. When I first heard him say that, if you just help enough other people get what they want, you'll get plenty of what you want. I was probably in my early 30s. And I can tell you, I remember exactly my thought. I thought, you know what? He's being too Pollyannish. And how could you possibly gain and keep when you give everything away? I completely misunderstood the lesson. 100% had it completely backwards. It wasn't material at all. It was spiritual. What he's talking about is when you give of yourself, right, your energy and your knowledge and your talent, okay, you're going to help other people, and the world will handsomely reward you for that, okay? So in any case, so remember this: bigger vision, bigger needs. So when you're writing, don't limit yourself, right? Do not limit yourself. Now, I'm not going to tell you you're going to hit 100 transactions next year, but I can tell you this: if you set that out to be 100 versus 20, like you did a factor of 10 instead of a factor of 2, chances are you're going to blow way past the 20, right? You might only get the 30 or 40, 50, but that's a sure far much better than 10, and it got you closer to your 100, right? By the way, in case you're curious about this, yes, you will get used to not hitting your mark. It's not a negative thing. It's a positive thing, because just like I was just saying, there's a great book about this, by the way. Og Mandino writes about this. And he also said, one of his famous quotes is, I'd rather shoot for the stars and hit the moon than shoot for the moon and hit a rock, right? He went way past everything his conscious mind thought he was capable of, and went way past that, and therefore accomplished a whole lot more. So you realize your benchmark, yes, you set it at 100, you maybe only got 50, but 50 is a far cry better than where you were the year before, and probably a lot more than your small mind would have ever come up with on its own. So in any case, let's see, any questions, any comments, suggestions?
Great. Well, Gary, you were asking for us to kind of chime in.
Yep.
And it is very powerful. Everything that you're sharing is amazing, and it's awesome. And thank you for sharing that with us. One of the things that I have learned is that we have that part in our brain that's the amygdala, and that's the gatekeeper. And so anytime we start thinking big, the little gatekeeper says, no, you can't do that. And then that's what stops us. And then when we're doing these kind of vision mapping exercises, all the different kinds that are out there, that is basically what stops us. And so what we need to do, walking in to getting into the state or vision mapping or just kind of capturing the vision that, you know, you've been called to, the thing that we need to do is, one, we need to give ourselves permission to dream, give ourselves permission to think big and free ourselves from that bondage. Because a lot of us, we have a tendency, well, we can't go there because we're in bondage by this idea, by this mindset. So we need to walk in, giving ourselves permission, and then also recognizing that there is a gatekeeper that's protecting you, which is a good thing. But unfortunately, it does us more harm than good in many ways, because really it's designed for terror, it's designed for danger. But unfortunately, it keeps us from accomplishing those goals that we desire to, because it thinks it's protecting us. And so what we need to do is recognize that. And something that I learned is to even call it out and say, I'm onto you. I know what you're trying to do. Okay, I get it. You know, get it. I recognize that what you're trying to prevent me from doing, but I'm not listening to you. And then give your permission to get into that state so you can think bigger, because the reality is that what we need to do, and what ends up happening during these exercises, it's basically is putting yourself in a position or in a state where you're going to connect with your heart. You're going to connect with your passion, and that your passion is in your heart. And that what that does is, once you get that to connect to here, that's where it becomes very powerful and overwhelming for the subconscious mind. And if we keep consistent at it, the subconscious mind says, oh, wait a minute, I get it. This is actually really important. I'm hearing this over and over, or I'm seeing this on a piece of paper over and over, or I'm seeing this on a laminated, sheet of paper in my shower over and over. So the subconscious mind says, we need to record that. And then that becomes dominant over all those other negative mindsets that we have. So a lot of times when we're going into this, and if we're failing or we're not doing well, just give yourself permission to dream big. Yep, and then recognize there is a gatekeeper. Some people call it drunk monkey in our previous company, and just basically tell that drunk monkey to shut up. I'm not going to believe in you. You're doing more harm than good. I'm going this direction. And it's very powerful when you start to do that. If that subconscious mind starts to pay attention to you, and you end up being the one that's driving the vehicle, not your subconscious mind.
Right.
I was in a class where we were learning things that seemed impossible. And some going along with what John just said, she said, when she comes up against, the voice that says, you can't do that, that's impossible, then she says to herself, thanks for sharing. So it's a kind of like, I'm accepting you. It's humorous in a sense, and yet it does, it does what John's talking about.
Yeah. And John, thanks for sharing that too. I appreciate you sharing your wisdom. I know you've got a lot of awesome background, a lot of training, a lot of experience, and you're I'm grateful you're on the team. I mean, you just, off the chart. So, and humble too. Yep. So, but I'll tell you what, guys, that's really important. What John and Deborah were talking about is, remember I mentioned earlier, whenever you find yourself, a distraction or something like, I don't know what to write, that type of thing, just tell yourself, I know you don't know what to write, but I'm going to go ahead and write anyways. Let's go ahead and just keep writing. So it's not like don't let yourself fight it. Just accept it and let it pass through, because that all this is thoughts are passing, thoughts are fleeting. Just let it pass through. So in any case, a couple of things came out of that too. I want to point out, if you guys want to write this down. If you want to really reinforce this and keep that vision alive, because life's going to challenge you and all your environments. And I mean, I'm speaking specifically about friends and family. Some people will understand what you're doing and they're going to support you 100%. Some people are going to challenge it. They're going to challenge you. Well, are you crazy? What makes you think you can do 100 transactions a year? Or, why do you think you can travel to every continent in the world? Things like that. They mean well. Let's just say they mean well, but they don't know how. So one of the things you can do to keep it alive is to look at it on a regular basis, what you wrote, and a few more things. you've all probably heard the term vision board. So you can actually keep a vision board in your daily planner. It doesn't have to be a big giant board, although I think that's a great idea. I have one too. But with all the traveling that I've done in my life, I actually took pictures. I found pictures online, and this was the craziest thing. You talk about manifesting. I would have, in my vision statement, visions that I thought, how in the world am I ever going to find a Google picture for what I just visualized? There's no way anybody's ever going to have a picture of that. But I thought, I'm going to Google it anyways. And I would get real descriptive. And sure enough, I'd find what I needed. So I keep that. It's like 3 sheets, 4 or 5 pictures per sheet. And it usually reflects the different environments, like my children, for example, they're in there. But it's nice and quick and handy and easy. I have it with me. I can look at it, when I'm traveling, what have you. And if you want to do a real quickie review and not have time to read your entire vision statement, pull that out when you're at a traffic light and just look at them. Just go through in the 2 or 3 minutes at a traffic light. Okay. It's amazing what that repetition will do. Just like John was saying, repeatedly feed your mind good thoughts and good information and good statements, which leads me to the next thing. There's being, doing, and having. Okay. In order to have what you want, you've got to do the things that are necessary to have those things you want. In order to do the things, to have the things you want, you have to be the kind of person that can do those things. So the being part is where it all starts. And you can write phrases to yourself beginning with the word be compassionate, be wise, right? Be thoughtful, be successful, be abundant, what have you. Well, you know what's even better than that? Starting with the 2 words, I am, as if it's already there, because it actually is. Just I am successful. I am compassionate. I am intelligent. I am wise. And there's a lot of more meaning behind the words I am. I won't go into all that tonight. Just if you ever want to Google it, just Google the words I am. And you get all kinds of great insight and history and background. Okay. Who, by the way, who knows, raise your hand, who knows what the 2 words I am actually represent in the oldest form of human language? Yeah, let's read the Bible. In fact, you've got the Gita, the Quran, the Torah, the Christian Bible. And if you're lucky, you can find some great information on Buddhism. I've had a difficulty with that. But Buddhism is different, but it doesn't discount or negate any other religious practice at all. That's not what Buddhism is about. But in any case, the others are all referring to the same God, and the right in the beginning it says, "I am." So you are connected to God. Every one of you is. So in any case, it goes both ways too. By the way, the connection goes both ways. So when you write that, you're allowing God to speak through you. Okay. And if we want to call it creator, universe, whatever your language is, that's fine. You use your language, whatever is meaningful for you. It's the same principle. Okay.
Hey, Gary.
Yes, sir.
Something else that I've added to my I ams is I've added a question at the beginning. I say, why am I? So a lot of times, because my mind is a problem-solving machine, I say, why am I a good man? Why am I successful? Why am I going to make so many phone calls today? And my mind wants to solve.
Yeah, that's a great one. I haven't heard of that before, because if you answer the question, you would probably answer with other I ams. I'm a successful business person because I'm one who makes calls. I'm a great dad because I'm compassionate, loving, and I want to share my children's lives, things like that. But really, really important, and have those written down, guys. You should be able to recite those driving down the road, sitting at a traffic light, going to bed at night, waking up in the morning. You should be able to recite those. And the more you do, even if you really don't consciously feel that way, believe me, you do it enough times. I don't care how thick your skull is. My skull is probably way thicker than everybody's skull here. I've got 2 things against me. I'm Irish and German, so you can't get any thicker skull than that. And I'm telling you, it works, and it's taken me a lot longer than I know people that I've learned from him to do this, and it's so easy for him. And it was not easy for me, right? It wasn't. I literally had to work really hard. But these things I've been doing for years and years now, and I'm telling you, it has its effect. You're telling yourself, you're actually programming your subconscious mind is what you're doing in scientific terms. So if your mind's going to be programmed, I can't think of a better person to program it than you. You know, so take control, take charge, and write that vision statement. If you want to share it, I do encourage sharing it. It can be kind of intense sometimes. Believe me, we've done it in group sessions, and it can be pretty intense. So some people don't want to experience that kind of intensity in public. But when you do, I tell you what, nothing will cement that to every fiber of your being more than sharing it with another person, particularly in public. You talk about having that glued to you internally in every way, shape, or form. That's one surefire way to do it, you know? So, okay. Any other questions or comments at this point? Okay, show of hands, or who here is actually excited about this now? Like having this discussion helps you see, right? I feel a lot more clear about what I'm doing now. If you don't, that's okay. This is why we have this class, because I believe me, we'll go through this in the month of January. I'm going to have people share it for those who are willing to share, at least with me. And I get all kinds. And at the end, our retention rate, the ability for us to remember things, drops. That's why I wanted to do it now and not wait till January. I want to have you take advantage of the time that's becoming available to you over the holidays, whether you celebrate, Hanukkah starting, I think that's next week actually. Next Sunday, Hanukkah, and then the week after Christmas and Kwanzaa. Whatever you celebrate it with gusto, and take the time to be good to yourself. Give yourself the gift of time, and give yourself the gift of this exercise. I wish I could claim full credit for it, but I can't. I learned it over the years, and it's evolved. And I do it minimum once a year, this time of year, and I live by it. I never without it. And everything you're seeing, this team included, is a direct result of it. Absolutely. And now building the team doesn't seem like such a big daunting task anymore. In fact, 4 of you on the team are actually building your own teams right now, and maybe another one coming up very soon. So don't ever tell yourself no or I can't, because I know that you can. And I'm not going to tell you because I did it, you can do it. I know how much more capable you are than me. So you can ask my country cousin Tom. He knows me probably better than anybody. I'm very limited in my natural abilities, and that's why I do this, because I need God to work through me and speak through me and get all this stuff done. I wouldn't be able to do it on my own, 100% absolute. So, okay, one more thing, and then we'll open up for more questions here. The pictures, turns out, are actually a very big thing. All right. So I mentioned in passing about 10 minutes ago that I would go find pictures that reflected my vision. So when you write your vision, the first thing I want you to do is go through and sort of grab the big picture, the big ideas. And you should have, several of them, 6 or 9 or whatever. Okay. And go find pictures that represent those parts of your vision. And what's interesting, the first time I remember, I was thinking, there's no way. I can't, how am I going to find a picture of this one? Sure enough, every single time I found spot on, absolute 100% accurate pictures. Okay. Keep them in your planner and put them up on a wall somewhere. You can write words by them, what the meaning is, things like that. Now, I want to talk about one more thing though, which is visualization. Okay. So let's say, well, let me ask you, who here has done a vision exercise in the past, and part of your vision was a big, beautiful home that you wanted to live in? A home on the ocean, home in the mountains, big deck overlooking the woods. Anybody has ever that been part of somebody's vision? A beautiful home. Okay. Not many. Oh, there's a couple of, yay. Well, I think that's pretty cool, because I know I like to do that myself. I actually draw floor plans, to scale and everything. But what I like to do though, before I do that, is I go through this visualization process, and I'll do it a half hour here and 10 minutes there and an hour here and 45 minutes there. Over time, the vision becomes more and more clear. until I can literally imagine myself walking through the house and going to the garage and in the kitchen and sitting on the deck. I mean, as clear as if it's actually happening right there in present moment, present time. That's the kind of visualization I'm talking about. And what I want you to do is start practicing that. And that's one of the easiest things you can do, because we all have an imagination. And remember, what's the best state to do that in? What type of wave state? It'll be a little pop quiz here. Is it beta?
Beta.
It's actually alpha. I know it's tempting to say beta because you're active and you're engaged, but what you want to do is get into the alpha state. So, right, what you're now in control of your mind, right? Instead of your mind being in control of everything, you're in control of your mind, so you can eliminate distractions or just let them pass through and really go deep on that, on the visualization. Visualization is much better, much more easily accomplished in alpha state. You want to be careful not to slip in the theta, because you could fall asleep, which might not be a bad thing depending on the circumstances. But if you're driving a car, you definitely don't want to go into theta. It'll be a problem. But alpha is the perfect state. So do the visualization, and that's, again, you can do it in the morning when you're waking up. Give yourself the gift of time. Don't jump right up out of bed and grab that phone. That's one of the worst things you can do. Give yourself the gift of time before you turn the phone on and the computer. I promise you'll be thanking me later for that. It'll set the pace for the day. You'll have a much more peaceful day. Things will happen, but it's going to be hard to knock you out of your peaceful state. But that visualization, guys, is one of the critical pieces to you realizing your dream and manifesting your vision. The visualization is a big part of it. You can't do it without it. Okay. And quite frankly, it's a lot of fun when you're visualizing these things that you want, you feel called to do. Maybe it's standing in front of people teaching. I know for me, that was 25 years ago, guys. I started having that vision, and it didn't actually occur till years and years later. It wasn't in front of people till, my gosh, probably 10 years, and then maybe a full 15 years before it was like a regular thing for me. How about that for being persistent? So that's another thing. Be persistent. Don't ever give up. Don't ever quit on yourself. Remember what John Giggy talked about in Deborah. Give yourself positive information. Put laminated, notes in your shower, on your mirror, with some quick statements. I am, right? So, in any case, that's what I had for tonight. We can talk about this further. Can clarify. If anybody needs clarification, please let me know. I've noticed a lot of people are scheduling one-on-ones this week and next. I am taking off technically the week between Christmas and New Year's. There's no scheduling on the calendar, but you guys can still reach me. If you have a question, feel free to email me, text me, call me. I don't want you to be stuck. I would rather take the time and help you through it, because that's how important this is. It's the most important time of my year. One of the two most important times, by the way. And I never underestimate the power of it, so in any case, I'll quit talking so you guys can ask questions. I see some people eating some snacks. Well, that looks good.
Hey, Gary, just to reiterate, a really hard time getting into any kind of a state like that. So you said start from 100 and go backwards 2 seconds down to 0. And then it takes 50 days to get to where you can do it in like 5 seconds.
Yeah,
5 numbers.
Yeah, do that 10 days, right? And Susan, and what's really important, Susan, close your eyes, make sure you're sitting in a comfortable chair, close your eyelids, and imagine you're looking up at about 20 degrees. I don't know why it is. If you go too far up, it'll be uncomfortable. So you kind of lift your eyeballs up as if your eyelids are open, like you're looking up at something over the horizon or something. That's actually a critical piece. But yes, you count back to 100, do that 10 days in a row, and then cut it in half to 50, then go from 50 backwards 10 days in a row, then 25 days, right? Sorry, 25 days, then 10 days. I'm sorry, 10, count to 10 days in a row, right? And then finally count to 5 backwards, 5 days, 10 days in a row. And it probably actually won't take you that long, to be honest with you. When I used to learn that practice from Jose Silva, I actually did it the very first time. I started at 100 thinking I've got to learn this new practice. I don't even think I got to 95. It was that fast. But this is a great way to do it. If you're the other way does, like if praying doesn't work or music doesn't work, that really does work, Susan. I mean, that's like carte blanche. That's been taught to hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people, and it's anybody can do it. You know, I know some people think they can't. You're very welcome. Yeah. So, hey, how about a pat on the back for like John Giggy and Deborah for sharing their experience and their training. Yep. So I appreciate you guys sharing that. Okay, in the beginning, we did talk about the Zillow project. Any questions on that? What we're doing, how we're doing it, why we're doing it? Hopefully I'll have some, matter of fact, I gotta write this down. Invite. So Rob, I'm gonna make you the beta test.
You sure it's
I'll
not the
probably
alpha test?
What's that?
You sure it's not the alpha test?
There you go, alpha test. Yeah, there you go. Thanks. Yeah. And maybe I'll do it for a handful of you, just see, make sure we got our method down straight. But in any case, guys,
I'd like to be part of that test, Gary. This is Bonetta.
okay. Hey, Bonetta. Okay.
Can
well,
you
Beverly's
go
gonna-
over just real shortly the Zillow thing? Because I don't
Yeah.
remember it. I may have heard it or I might have missed it.
That's okay. So what we're doing, Kay, is some of you have gone through this process called Real Grader. If anybody was at Shareholder Summit, I know Lisa Sears did it. And I went through it. They go through your website and Facebook and LinkedIn and YouTube, all the different social media channels that you're on. And what they're looking for is how well you're doing. So one of the keys to success with an online presence is alignment between platforms. Okay. So you want to make sure your brand, for example, that's on Facebook, it looks the same as it does on your website. Your words you use, your picture, everything, your brand, if you have a tagline, San Antonio luxury home specialist, whatever it is, make sure it's everywhere. Wherever you are, you should have the same phrases and the same pictures of yourself. Now, here's where Zillow and these other platforms come into play. It turns out they're all part of the internet. So Google's paying attention to how many times you pop up. If you're on homes.com, if you're on Zillow, if you're on realtor.com. So we made a project out of making sure all of us are on those three platforms for free, doesn't cost anything. And we decided to choose Zillow to start with because it's the #1 site for consumers above all the others, right? So in any case, what we're doing, Kay, is most of you already have your own profile on Zillow. And Zillow's, capturing your transaction information and so forth. So it looks like you've got a little bit of a track record there. Now, where this project comes into play is, turns out they have a team platform too. And I got the free version, of course, because I'm Mr. Frugal, right? So I like to try things first before I sink a bunch of money into it, right? So they have a team platform, and what we do at the team level is we invite all of our team members to join the team, the Zillow GIA Team platform, right? And when you do that, you still maintain your identity. You still have your own identity, your own everything, and you don't give that up. There's nothing you give up here. But what you gain is, we do that for those three sites, Zilter.com, Zillow.com. I'm making up my own words. Zilter. Let's create Zilter next year, guys. How about the revision statement? It was Zillow, Realtor, and Homes.com. And now your presence is going to be doubled across all those. So instead of you're on there one time in each of the three of those. Now you're out there twice, right? 2 times 3 is 6. That's 6 impressions. So when somebody's searching for luxury homes in San Antonio, you pop up there in minimum is, and if you got a Facebook page, that's 7, and then LinkedIn and your own website and Instagram, whatever, you're increasing the odds that you're going to have good organic search results. Okay. And not only that, believe it or not, because of our presence, now people will be able to find you almost no matter where they are and no matter where you are. So it helps you get a lot more exposure from the general population, not just in your own area, right? Because of the team platform, you'll have people, somebody that wants to move to San Antonio, believe it or not, they could be in Seattle, Washington, Google that, and they could likely find you. and more importantly, you get down to the brass tacks here and the practical stuff, it will likely generate leads and phone calls to the team platform. Remember, I'm not in production. You are. So we're going to feed you those leads for free coming in. So
So Gary, do we each get on, make our own profile on Zillow, Realtor.com and Homes.com? And then we just add a tagline for the GIA team, or I'm confused.
it'd be great if you just said simply on your profile, we don't want you to say team, because we want people to think of you.
GIA agent,
Yeah.
global investor agent.
Just say global investor agent, but really more importantly, we want to help you build your own brand. And some of you do want to build a team, but we want you to do that. So if you were to say global investor agent team, their impression is you're a member of a team, which is great. But let us take care of that on the team side, on the GIA global investor agent team profile. Let us take care of that. Then on your individual profile, just say KPEC, San Antonio luxury home specialist, global investor agent, something like that. So we would be honored if you mentioned global investor agent. Just make sure you don't put the word team on there. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
And that will generate some questions for you, by the way, because we've had that happen before when people dropped off the word team. All of a sudden they would get questions. Well, what's a global investor agent? And there's your lead into another conversation, but for me, it's all about allowing the team to have more exposure, right? And thank you guys for helping to do that. But also, because of the way the market's going, guys, I'm cautiously optimistic, right? I don't want to go into the gloom and doom about economics. Well, what I want to do is not panic. I want to prepare. So this is my way of helping prepare and drive in more leads to feed to you guys that don't actually cost anything. You don't have to pay Zillow to do this, So this is a great way for us. You might get one lead, you might get 10, I don't know, but if it opens up a lead source for you guys on the team, I'm going to do it, every single time. Every advantage we can give ourselves, we are going to do,
Thank you, Gary.
Oh, you're welcome. Yep. And Tio and Alvin are behind the scenes making all this happen, by the way. So they're the workhorses behind all this. So they'll send you the invites. But yeah. Okay, guys, anything else? Is anybody to this? Has anybody called any for rent ads? Since we mentioned, I think it was a week or two ago. Yeah, remember, I got 2 weeks. Well, now just less than 2 weeks till Christmas.
Gary?
This week, what's that?
This is Vanetta. So I used to have a subscription with RedX for rent by owners. So I was looking online today, the best source to find them. And so I looked at Hotpads and I looked at Zillow. They said the best way to find private landlords was Zillow Service Manager. I think that's what they called it. Zillow
Okay.
Manager. So I'm looking for a source to get, because RedX really didn't have that many. It was $60 a month and it really didn't have that many. I mean, like 6 or 8. So I'm like, that's not going to work.
Okay.
A day. That it just wasn't, I want more.
Right.
So Hotpads and like I said, Zillow Service Manager. But I think, those were the two places where you could get leads for rent by owners.
Yep. Well, a couple other sources, but thanks for sharing too, by the way. But every area has usually 1 or 2 publications. One's called the Green Sheet. Who here has a Green Sheet in your area? It's a national publication, but it's done at the local level. How about Penny Saver? Right. And it might be called something different. Your area might be called the, something Saturday Gazette or the, Citizens Review, something like that, but it's usually free. In the back, they have all these ads, and it's also, they're now online. They've been online now for over a decade, probably 15 years. So you can find those publications in your local area and go in there and you get those mom and pop ads. That's what we used to do. Actually, we looked on there. We looked on Craigslist too, by the way. Craigslist was a huge source of for rent ads. You just have to filter out the agencies and only focus on the, for rent by owner ones. Okay. But remember, if you're on, I think it was last week or the week before, the scripting is really easy. You call them up and you're usually going to leave a voicemail because they're not going to answer a call directly. They want you to leave a voicemail so they can screen it. Just say, hey, I'm Gary Wilson calling about your property, advertised for rent, in Bellevue, $1,400 a month. And when they call you, make sure when they call you, you do disclose, not the state disclosure, but let them know you have to disclose that you're a realtor. Now, I embed it. What I do is say, hey, thanks for calling me back, about your property in Bellevue for $1,400 a month. I'm an investor myself. I'm a realtor too, by the way. But the reason I'm calling you is, I know what it's like to try to rent an apartment this time of year. No landlord wants to rent between Thanksgiving and Christmas, and even January for that matter. And let me ask you, I'm just curious, would you ever consider selling if the price was right? I said, you may not be considering selling, but would you ever consider it if the price was right? There's not a lot out there right now. Just get the conversation started. And when you do it that way, it's respectful, and they're a business person, you're a business person, and you're asking them a question, would they ever be interested in selling if the price was right? Which in most cases is always going to be a yes answer. It might be no right now, but you just want to get the conversation going. Okay. I tell you what, guys, that was one of our best techniques, and didn't cost a dime. We didn't spend any money on it. Well, other than the person we hired to do the phone calls, that she was an employee. One of the best ones. I just want to remind you that if you guys don't mind, you want to try it. A great way to, if you have time and you want to get some more immediate business, I would do that. Any questions on that?
So Gary, it was called Zillow Rental Manager.
Okay.
Yeah, and Hot Pads.
So Zillow Rental Manager, that's free, right?
Yes.
Okay, good. And the hot pads, I know they charge. Oh, I almost forgot. Facebook Marketplace. Look for apartments to rent there. Those are definitely going to be mostly mom and pops. Facebook Marketplace. Totally free. Okay.
Thank
All
you.
right. Hey guys, so I'm going to give you one more thing, then we'll call it a day. I'm going to tell you more about this on Wednesday, but Beverly put an ad on Indeed.com, INDEED. And I ran this by, I think, Gina, Shasteen, and Andre. That ad is still pulling calls. I mean, she set 6 appointments last week, literally the day she put it in, 23 inquiries in 24 hours. And she set 3 more appointments today. It's 9 appointments so far, and it keeps going. It hasn't slowed down. And so we're going to share with you the actual ad that we ran, and it's totally free. So if you're looking to add somebody to your downline, you definitely want to pay attention to that and run it. I mean, we're having amazing success with it. You can even tweak it a little bit. Our ad's going to obviously talk about the Global Investor Agent Team. If you just want to attract people generically, you cut that part out, and talk about, KV Core. I think that's probably in there too, by the way. But in any case, we haven't seen results like this in anything we've done so far since we've been here, as far as a campaign of attracting people. So you can run it for your area, and it absolutely works. So we're going to share that with you. We'll talk about more on Wednesday. Wednesday is going to be a big meeting, by the way. That's the final team call for the year. So please make sure you're there. We got 2 major strategies we're going to be rolling out to you. So as well as wrapping up the year. Can't believe it. Can you guys believe it? Holy smokes. I mean, it just goes by so fast when you're having fun.
Too quick, too quick.
I know. Yep. So in any case, all right. Any final thoughts or questions, guys? I see some chats. Let me check it real quick. Make sure I didn't miss anything. Haven't seen a penny saver in a decade. Tom watched good information. Thank you, Deborah. Thanks, Tom, for saying that. I appreciate it. Kathy, check Google online. I'm not sure what Greene County has. I know there's a publication because I've seen it. Tom, do you recall what the free publication is in Greene County from the old days with Mom and Bruce? up at the greenhouse shops?
Current one out there is coffee news.
Okay. It's interesting. So Kathy, look for that and see if you can find it. Hey, Sarah, on the Zillow, we actually, what's got to happen is there's an invite that's going to come from the team profile to you, and then that's how you join the team profile. So Sarah, look for that. You don't, at that point, you just have to follow the instructions, but we'll give that to you. Thanks, Juan. Hey, Juan, did you actually was today the day, Juan, that you got your, I think the day's the day you're supposed to start to transfer. Right. I'm not sure if you're still on, but if I'm jumping the gun, I'll keep my mouth shut. Susan says it's scary to me, and that's okay, Susan. Do the county back method. That'll work. I've done this while in a dental chair getting a root canal, focuses solely on my breath. It does work when I've had to do that before too, different circumstances. But any case, guys, looks like that's pretty much it. Once again,
Gary, my hand is up. My hand is up.
Oh, I'm sorry, Benetta. Yep.
Okay, one last question. You were saying earlier that there was people that were looking at our social media. Are they going to reach out to us? Is there somebody we should reach out to? I'm sorry, I missed that.
Yeah, so they will, most cases are going to reach out to you directly.
Okay.
But if they leave a message on the team profile, just based on where they are, so if they're up in Fairfax, that's coming to you, obviously, and if they're in San Antonio, that'll go to KPEC. So anything that comes in lead wise on the team profile, we're just gonna just carte blanche hand them out to you directly, but in most cases, I think they'll come to you directly.
No, I don't think we're talking about the same thing.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay, so you were saying that somebody was going to look at our social media and see if it's in if it's.
Oh, no, there was a team, a company called Real Grader, and they were at the EXP shareholder summit. So they had a presentation where they were like looking at your
I see.
Your presence. Yeah. So you I think if you call them or email them, or you can Google it, Real Grader. I know Lisa Shears did it too. I think they'll give you a free review with a written plan of action. You don't have to pay for it if you don't want to. You can do it on your own.
Right.
In fact, we'll help you. We're doing it, so we'll help you do it.
Okay.
If you guys want to save the money, we'll just make that part of one of our calls and things like that. But this is part of that. This is part of that overall effort, and it came from that conference.
All right. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Yep. Okay. Everything else I'll say for the team meeting, we're going to talk about the community college teaching group, the core group, lots of things to talk about. So make sure you guys are there for Wednesday, and that'll be next Monday will be the last meeting of the year. So, yep, no meetings the week of Christmas, and Monday, July 2nd, no class then either, or commercial mastermind, because it's technically a holiday. So, okay. All right, guys. Well, thanks Gary. You're welcome. Thanks for participating and sharing. Thanks, John and Deborah and everybody for participating. We got an awesome team, and you guys make it that way. I tell you what, this is like here I was going to say it's a dream come true. How about that for being prophetic at the end of this meeting? So I tell you. Okay, you guys have a good night. God bless you and your families, and we'll see you on Wednesday.
Thank you.
Good night.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you.
Adios.
Good night.